Send check or money order to Slow Dancing, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, save COD charges by sending check or money order or use your credit card.
This is CNN.
To our viewers around the world, good afternoon from Washington. I'm Frank Sesno.
And good evening from London. I'm Hilary Bowker. Today on the International Hour, Jeremy Thompson reports on Sierra Leone. Has it become paradise lost?
This small West African state should be a paradise on earth, a beautiful, fertile country with bountiful natural resources. Instead, it's a decaying shambles, its riches plundered and wasted.
Also, UN peacekeepers arrive in Sarajevo. Can the thousands there who face starvation count on help arriving anytime soon? And with the old Soviet Union gone, so is some of its sensitivity. But first to Rio de Janeiro and the International Earth Summit, and yet another disagreement between the United States and other participants. Delegates are putting the finishing touches on environmental agreements for signing on Friday, when more than 100 heads of state, including President Bush, gather in Rio. After opposing a biodiversity treaty and weakening one on global warming, Washington is now refusing to commit itself to providing aid in exchange for third world countries who protect their forests. Says one delegate from Malaysia, what is the cause of deforestation? Poverty. There is more concern surrounding President Bush's trip on another front. On his way to Rio, Mr. Bush will spend a day in Panama. Today, Pentagon sources say gunmen opened fire on American soldiers, killing one, wounding two near the town of Chilibre. Little else is known, but the U.S. Army is investigating. Well, once in Rio, Mr. Bush is likely to find himself criticized and perhaps isolated, as CNN senior White House correspondent Charles Bierbauer shows us.
George Bush likes to breathe the fresh air and fish the clear stream. No one doubts that. But what has he done to keep them that way? Ask him.
And today, the United States spends about 2% of its gross domestic product, over $100 billion a year, on pollution control. In comparison to other nations, that's among the very, very highest in the world.
Or ask his critics.
The American people were fooled one time by President Bush when he said, I'm going to be the environmental president. They're not going to be fooled again because the record of the last 4 years speaks very loudly.
The American public is skeptical. A CNN Gallup poll taken this week shows only 29% of those questioned approve of the president's handling of the environment. 58% disapprove. Environmentalists find little to praise.
About the only thing that I could point to would be his pushing to get the Clean Air Act passed through the Congress, but even that he now has undermined by doing away with all of the enforcement that's needed to implement that very important public health law.
Critics say Vice President Quayle's Competitiveness Council has favored business over the environment. Example, a recent decision to allow some smokestack industries to increase pollutants. The Bush administration has satisfied no one by trying to divide Northwest forests between loggers and the spotted owl. But the preparations for the Rio summit have separated Bush and the U.S. from just about everyone. The president will sign a treaty aimed at curbing global warming, but resisted putting firm limits on greenhouse gas emissions into it. And Bush adamantly refuses to sign a biodiversity convention, which U.S. officials say confuses the desire to preserve plant and animal species.
It singles out biotechnology as an inherently unsafe technology and puts our industry, in which we lead the world, at risk. We couldn't agree to that.
But I have some responsibility. Responsibility for a cleaner environment, and also responsibility to families in this country who want to work, some of whom can be thrown out of work.
The president will urge the Earth Summit participants to double their effort and contributions to save the Earth's forests. He's pitching in an additional $150 million U.S. tax dollars. White House officials hope that the president's proposals will take some of the heat off. And at Bush campaign headquarters, the feeling is that by November, the Rio summit will just be a blip on the political thermometer. Charles Bierbauer, CNN, the White House.
And a special programming note, on Monday I will interview President Bush live from the White House right after his return from Rio de Janeiro and just before next week's U.S.-Russia summit between President Bush and Russian President Boris Yeltsin.
There was a warning from Rio today. The head of Eastern Europe's development bank says 60 Soviet-built nuclear reactors in the region are, quote, time bombs that could go off at any moment. He is urging the West to agree on a rescue plan, saying it can be done at a relatively low cost. For a complete wrap of the day's events at the Earth Summit, watch CNN's half-hour special Agenda Earth every night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It was just a month ago that a band of disgruntled soldiers toppled the government of Sierra Leone. For years, the tiny West African country has waged a border war against Liberian-backed rebels, a war that's killed and displaced thousands. But Sierra Leone is also battling other forces: hunger, horrendous living conditions, and dwindling natural resources. Jeremy Thompson reports on how the country's new soldier president is coping.
At the age of 27, Captain Valentine Strasser is the world's youngest president, now in control of the globe's least developed country. In a military coup a month ago, he wrested power from a government which had brought Sierra Leone to near collapse through corruption and mismanagement. The people of this poverty-stricken nation are already calling him our redeemer, but the task facing Captain Strasser is quite staggering. This small West African state should be a paradise on earth, a beautiful, fertile country with bountiful natural resources. Instead, it's a decaying shambles, its riches plundered and wasted. Freetown, the world's only capital city without regular electricity. Telephones a rarity, television non-existent. Vibrant colors merely mask the hardship. The average wage just £10 a month, inflation running at 100%. The scenes at police headquarters are typical. A shabby, broken building where nothing works except the officers. They showed us the lock-up cell, a stench-filled hole in the ground where we found 11 prisoners crammed in total darkness. The free don't live much better. In the shanties of Crew Bay, one tap serves 5,000 people in a land woefully short of sanitation and clean water. The average life expectancy just 42 years, the lowest in the world. Hardly surprising when drains carry disease right past your home. A vulture sits above Freetown's dilapidated hospital, as if in mockery of a health service lacking drugs and equipment. Half the wards are bare, witness to the empty promises of former regimes. With only the light from a broken window, doctors do their best to save lives. Infant mortality is shockingly high. More than a quarter of Sierra Leone's children don't live past the age of 5. Of those who do, barely half even start primary school. Often the conditions are primitive, with not enough books or desks. And for the 650 children in this school, not even the toilets work. As if Sierra Leone's problems weren't bad enough, it now has 250,000 refugees. These orphans giving thanks that they escaped a border war which has killed thousands and left many more in camps for the displaced. Amid the devastated homes on the front line, Sierra Leone's ill-trained, poorly equipped soldiers continue to fight this almost forgotten jungle war against Liberian-backed rebels. It was the injustice of it all that drove a group of young officers to revolt. Now, in the president's chair, the youthful Captain Strasser is determined to transform his country.
What we need now is we need help. We need urgent help. This is a country in need. We cannot effectively do business because there's nothing. We have no reserves. So we need capital influence. We need investment.
What you're saying to the world is give us a chance, yes?
Give us a chance, of course.
The damage is already vast. 80% of the nation's forests destroyed by shifting agriculture. Peasant farmers forced to slash and burn just to survive. Much of the mineral wealth, like diamonds and gold, has been smuggled out, leaving only a residue of mine scars and lost opportunities. If Sierra Leone could harness its natural resources, it could one day be self-sufficient. The question is whether the world cares enough to help another ruined nation back onto its feet. Jeremy Thompson, Sierra Leone.
Still to come, the push is on to open Sarajevo's airport, but will the UN's dangerous journey help silence the guns of war and bring peace to Bosnia-Herzegovina?
And in Thailand, turning to a veteran of business and politics to lead a nation weary of the military's iron hand. Today's reports and more just ahead.
Fleischmann's Margarine asks, what is good?
Oh, that's good. Real good. And that's very good. Fleischmann's, of course, that's good. And will you look at that? Oh, there you go. That's better than good. Oh, boy.
Fleischmann's Margarine. Have you been good to yourself today?
That's good.
Fleischmann's. Be good to yourself.
The legendary Train Climatough compressor, stout heart of Train air conditioners. In a test like this, engineers have been pushing a Train compressor to its limits, trying to make it fail. They've been trying and trying for over 20 years. Designed, tested, and manufactured to last. It's hard to stop a train.
Dentists tell you to change your toothbrush every 3 months. So does the Oral-B indicator. When the blue band fades halfway, it's time for a new brush. The indicator from Oral-B, the brand more dentists use.
I swim, I jog, I love junk food. Sometimes even I get constipation.
Now, X-Lax pills give you 3 choices: regular, extra gentle, or new maximum relief. X-Lax for regular people who sometimes aren't.
When important people have something to say, they say it on CNN. When today's newsmakers have a story to tell, they tell it on CNN. When world leaders have a point to make, they make it on CNN. Get in touch with the people shaping the news. Watch Evans and Novak.
I don't think we'd end up in a civil war. I think
Newsmaker Saturday.
It was a tough choice. I chose the Indiana National Guard.
Newsmaker Sunday. Every weekend when important people have something to say, they say it on CNN.
The first of 2 UN convoys has reached war-scarred Sarajevo. It's part of a risky plan to open the airport as the first step to ending the fighting in Bosnia-Herzegovina. The convoys left Belgrade early today for the 12-hour journey. As the first group of UN trucks neared Sarajevo, Serb militia forces reportedly resumed shelling the city. CNN's Rick Salinger filed this report as the convoy began the dangerous trip from Belgrade.
Destination, Sarajevo. With this UN convoy as part of the advance team made up of United Nations Protection Forces, or UNPROFOR, military observers, and technical experts. Its mission, to lay the groundwork to try and open the Sarajevo airport for humanitarian aid flights. To accomplish that, first, there must be a ceasefire. Then the Serb fighters who control the airport and the area around it must turn over their heavy weapons, including mortars, multi-barrel rocket launchers, and anti-aircraft artillery to UN supervision.
If we can get down there and if we can open the airport, then perhaps that's a message that in actual fact UNPROFOR can make a very valuable contribution to the situation there, and we can expand that to include the city of Sarajevo. That is certainly the intention of the Security Council.
The advance team will have to make sure the airport runways are usable and navigation systems still work. If the ceasefire holds, 1,000 UN troops in addition to these will be brought in. The airport will be turned over to the United Nations for the relief flights. Aid is standing by for the 300,000 or so people still left in Sarajevo desperately in need of food. But so far, it's been kept out by the Serbian blockade of the city. The UN has brokered an agreement for the blockade of the airport to be lifted, but it must hold.
As soon as food and medicine start arriving, then at least there's some symbology here for good intentions on all sides. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I hope it's going to happen. Our experience to date has not been particularly positive in people honoring their agreements for more than a few minutes, if at all.
The UN teams must succeed not only in opening up the airport, but establishing safe corridors into the city. in order for the aid to reach the people. Many of them are reported to be near starvation.
If the mission succeeds and the ceasefire holds, it will be seen as a first step towards peace in Sarajevo. But those involved fully realize every attempt before this has ended in failure. Rick Salinger, CNN, Belgrade.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin is making a concerted effort to shore up support within his dispirited army. He went before the top brass today announcing promotions for some and across the board pay hikes for officers. They are a conservative lot, this military, and Yeltsin could use them in his corner. In fact, he needs them desperately. He also vowed the U.S. would not gain the upper hand as Washington and Moscow negotiate cuts in nuclear arsenals that go beyond the START treaty levels negotiated when the Soviet Union was still in business. Elsewhere, Georgia's president and veteran diplomat Edward Shevardnadze held talks today aimed at resolving a bloody dispute. At issue, the region of South Ossetia. Forces loyal to the former Republic of Georgia have been trading gunfire with rebels who want to make the region part of Russia. Shevardnadze is trying to persuade both sides to implement a truce by Friday.
Thailand's king has appointed a new prime minister, one many Thais will find familiar. He's businessman and former diplomat Anun Pairachun. Anand has led the government before as interim premier following last year's coup. He'll head an interim government for 4 months while Thailand prepares for a parliamentary election. Anand's appointment was a surprise. Pro-military politician Sambum Rahong had expected to be named prime minister. Many Thais hold him partly responsible for last month's bloody crackdown on pro-democracy protesters. About 500 reform-minded demonstrators gathered outside Parliament to protest Sambum's expected appointment. Coming up now, is he Ivan the Terrible who sent thousands of Jews to Treblinka's concentration chamber, to Treblinka's gas chambers?
Or was he a guard at another concentration camp? When the International Hour continues, we'll have the latest on a case that has Israelis wondering whether they can execute this man who's already been convicted.
Football fans, here it comes. Sports Illustrated gets you ready for the excitement of NFL football in this amazing new video, the 1992 Pro Football Spectacular, an action-packed video preview of the 92 season. It's free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated, the best way to capture all the action and emotion of sports every week. With your free video preview, Sports Illustrated will put you in places you've never been before.
Stay at home if you don't want to get hit.
Nobody loafing. Everybody going full speed. Take the sting out of these guys. Run, 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 run.
You'll not only be on the sidelines for the best of last season, Sports Illustrated will give you their view of which teams could be next year's champions. Who would you pick?
If I were to pick one right now, I'd say the Dallas Cowboys.
Who do you think is the NFL's best coach? Which running back would you want carrying the ball when the game is on the line?
I don't believe the run.
In the final minutes, which quarterback has the guts of a gunslinger?
Clay always got the ball. John is back.
Who is the best? Who gets your vote? Call this toll-free number now and get 44 minutes of insight and action. A spectacular